Hello friends, welcome to eStudent. Hope you all are doing good and preparing well for your exams. So in this video, we will be discussing IIT JAM Biotechnology 2017 question paper. Okay, friends, we have also discussed 2020, 19, 18 question papers which is available on our channel. Okay friends, so let's start our video 2017 question paper discussion. So coming to our first question. Pure antigen antibody was run on SDH page. Okay, so it was run on SDH page under reducing condition. How many bands would you see after staining with coumarin blue? Okay, so what they are saying, that we know that in the antibody structure we have disulfide bonds which are formed in the oxidizing condition, but here they are giving the reducing condition. To understand this, let us see the diagram of the antibody. So this is the structure of antibody. Friends, you can see we have here the two identical heavy chains, okay, and we have two identical light chains here. Okay, so now under the oxidizing conditions, we see here there is a disulfide bond formation here. You see here and here. We see a formation of disulfide bond. In this is formed in the oxidizing condition. But here they are giving the reducing condition. That means here in the reducing condition there will be a breakage of this bond. How many bands would you see after staining with coumarin blue? So friends, here these bands will be these bonds will be broken. Now we will see there is a production of 4 fragments. This 1, 2, 3 and 4 fragments. But here they are asking how many bands would you see after staining with coumarin blue. So here we will observe only 2 bands, friends. Why? Because these these heavy bands are going to give one band and this light chain is going to give another band. So we were going to observe 2 bands in the SDS page. Okay, coming to the next question. During the mitosis, disappearance of nucleolus is a hallmark of. So friends, to understand this, let us see the cell cycle, what happens. So first, what happens in the case of mitosis is we observe the interphase. When cell is preparing to undergo the process of cell division. Okay. So friends, in the case of prophase, what we see, chromosomes are visible, nuclear membrane disappears and nucleolus disappears. Friends, you see in the interphase the cell is actually growing in the size and it is preparing itself. You see here there is a chromatin totally dispersed in this way, but in the prophase you will see that the chromosome gets condensed here, and you see here there is a presence of nucleolus, but in the case of prophase you will see there is no nucleolus. Okay, so disappearance of nucleolus is a hallmark of metaphase? No. So see, in the metaphase we don't even have the nucleolus. Here it gets condensed, but in the case of prophase we will see the nucleolus gets disappeared. So it is a hallmark of prophase. It's not anaphase and it is not the telophase. So friends, coming to the next question now. Eukaryotic cell containing flagella is cell lining of fallopian tube. So friends, you see this is the diagram of the electron micrograph diagram of the cell lining of fallopian tube. In the fallopian tube you will observe that there is a small, like this thread like structures, but these are not long enough. So the small structures of small structures are called as cilia. These are cilia, but not flagella. Flagella are relatively longer in size. Okay, flagella is in this way longer in size. Coming to sperm. In this sperm, you will see that there is a head, there is a middle piece, and there is a long tail which is known as the flagellum. Let's see the paramecium. So in paramecium, you will observe there is a cell lining. Again, you'll see a small hair-like structures, and these are known as cilia. So these are not flagella. Flagella are longer in size. Okay. Cell lining of the respiratory tract. In the respiratory tract, you see these are the epithelial cells, and these are also relatively smaller in size. So these are, the surface contains the cilia. The only eukaryotic cell containing flagella is the sperm. It is having a long tail. Now friends, coming to the next question. The circulatory levels of estrogen is derived mainly from. So, we see this diagram. This is a follicle, and this is a layer of follicle which is given in the focused way. You see here the estrogen is produced from the theca cells and the granulosa cell. Friends, these are the type of questions which we actually have to remember the everything, from where certain kinds of cells and cells are present, and from those cells which of the hormones are getting released and everything. Okay, we cannot apply any logic here, we have to remember certain things. So here the circulatory levels of estrogen are derived from theca and the granulosa cells which are present in the follicle. Next question. Radial symmetry is the characteristic feature of which of the following phyla? So friends, what is radial symmetry? Before understanding that, we will understand what is bilateral symmetry. Friends, you see this is arthropoda, and it is showing a bilateral symmetry. When we divide the organism, we see that it is divided into two equal halves, and such an organism is known as bilateral symmetrical organism. So arthropoda belongs to an bilateral symmetry. They are asking for a radial symmetry. Coming to mollusca, you see this species also, when we divide into half, it is divided into two equal halves. So this is also not the correct answer. Cnidaria. You see this is the correct answer, because radial symmetry is something where the organism is uh, formed along the central axis. Okay, this is the central axis, from inside it is going, and this is formed along that central axis. So this is the correct answer. This is called as radial symmetry. But you see here, this organism is not forming around any central axis. Okay, but only the organism when divided with a plane, it is divided into two equal halves. That is why this is also a bilateral. So Cnidaria is the correct answer. Chordata. Chordata also, when we divide it with symmetry, these will also divide into two equal halves. So these are also known as bilateral symmetrical symmetry. Okay friends. So Cnidaria is the correct answer. They show the radial symmetry. Coming to the next question. In ecotone, some species become abundant and they are called as. So what is an ecotone, friends? So ecotone is a transition between um, two places. You see here these two ecosystems. See, this is one ecosystem, and here you see ecosystem. And these ecosystems are divided by a place in between them. Okay, so such a place is known as ecotone. So some species become abundant and they are called as. So transition between the two ecosystems, suppose this is a forest and this is a grassland. Okay, so in between them some species become abundant. So what are those species called as? They are called as sibling species? No, they are not at all called as sibling species. Endemic species? No. Endemic species are something which are present only at specific places. But this is not the case here. Rare species? No, because they're asking the abundant species. So this is the wrong option. Those are known as edge species. So species which are present between the two ecosystems, they form the edge species. You see here, this is one ecosystem, this is two ecosystem, and in between them some species are getting abundant. So that place is known as, these species are known as edge species. Okay, friends, coming to the next question now. Match the entries in group 1 with the entries in group 2. Okay, friend, here first we need to see something which we know, very easy question. You see, Alzheimer's disease is involved with the decreased production of acetylcholine. Okay, so Q is going to be 3. So where all we have Q as 3 here, we have in B and we have it in the D section. Okay, so Parkinson disease is involved with degeneration of dopamine releasing neurons. So R is going to be 2 here. So where is R2 here? It is present in B. So B is the correct option here. And epilepsy is involved with the defect in electric discharge in the neurons. R is 2. Alzheimer's disease is decreased production of acetylcholine, and Huntington's disease is involved with the degradation of neurons in the cerebral cortex. So B is the correct option here. Coming to the next question. Determine the correctness or otherwise of the following assertion and reason. Okay, so what is the assertion given here? In the process of ATP synthesis in oxidative phosphorylation, ATP synthase is not a part of electron transport chain in the inner mitochondrial membrane. Such an easy answer this is. We know in the electron transport chain we have 4 components. This is 1, 2, 5. We have 5 components here, and the main component which is responsible for the production of ATP is the ATP synthase. Okay, ATP synthase is responsible for creating the electromotive force, which is responsible for creating the proton gradient, and because of this proton gradient difference between the two sides of the mitochondria, it is going to produce the ATP. So what they are saying, in the process of ATP synthesis and oxidative phosphorylation, ATP synthase is not part of electron transport chain, which is absolutely wrong. So we know that assertion is wrong. So A and R are true. No, R is not. A and R are, this A is not at all true. A and R are true. No, both A and R are false. We don't know that R is false or not. Let's see reasoning. ATP synthase is coupled to electron transport chain through proton motive force. Yes, see this, whenever there is a transport of electrons from one compartment to the another, there is a release of H plus protons here outside the membrane, outside the mitochondrial membrane, and this is actually creating the proton motive force, which is responsible for the production of ATP. Okay, so reason is the correct. A and R are false. No, so A is false but R is true. So this is the correct option here. So this is wrong and this is the right reason. Coming to the next question. Higher levels of glycosylated hemoglobin indicate. Okay, so whenever there is a higher levels of glucose in the blood, it actually gets attached to the hemoglobin, and that glycosylated hemoglobin indicates high hemoglobin level. No, it is not indicating high hemoglobin level. Anemic conditions, no. Favism, no. It is actually indicating the diabetes, because diabetes is caused by the production of high glucose when it is not broken down by the insulin. So it is increasing the level of glucose in the blood, and that glucose is getting attached to the hemoglobin, and that is causing the diabetes. Okay, so when the levels of the glycosylated hemoglobin is less than 7, it is good, it is healthy. Okay, this is healthy. When you see it is more than 7, that means the person is pre-diabetic. and you see it is more than 7, then that the person is diabetic. When the glycosylated hemoglobin level in the blood is more than 8, this person is diabetic. Okay friends, now coming to the next question. Match the entries in group 1 with the entries in the group 2. DNA replication, genetic code, life on earth, DNA as genetic material. Friends, this is a very easy scoring question, and this is a question which is given from like 11th and 12th class question. This is, we are learning this from our like junior classes. So DNA replication. Okay, DNA replication was given by Meselson and Stahl, where they explained they radioactively, produced DNA, replicated DNA, and they showed that the DNA replicates in a semi-conservative manner. Okay, and the genetic code was given by Nirenberg and Khorana. Life on Earth experiment was conducted by Miller and Urey. DNA as a genetic material was given by Hershey and Chase. So let us see P and P as 3. We have here and here. Q as 4. We have here and here. Life on Earth, Miller and Urey are 2, are 1. So this is the correct option here. Coming to the next question. Match the entries in group 1 with the entries in the group 2. Bacteria, virus, fungus, protozoa, leishmaniasis, anthrax, rubella, athlete's foot. So bacteria here is anthrax, which is Bacillus anthrax. Virus is rubella. Fungus is athlete's foot. Protozoa is leishmaniasis. So friends, this is also the question where we cannot apply any logic. Here we have to know certain things, that which of the following is a bacteria, virus, fungus, protozoa. All these things we have to remember. Okay. P2 we have here 3 here, virus 3, 3, 3, and fungus 4, R 4. So A is the correct option here. Okay friends, now coming to the next question. In an experiment conducted in the dark, okay, isolated chloroplasts are kept in the buffer solution pH 4, that is acidic condition, at 4 degrees Celsius under their internal pH when until their internal pH is equal to 4. So they want to create a situation where the internal pH of the chloroplast thylakoid membrane is acidic. Then they are transferred to a buffer of pH 8. Okay, now they are transferring it to the alkaline solution, and ADP and PI are added at the same time. Which of the following will happen? Okay friends, so let us see this using a diagram. So now what they are doing, they are taking an acidic buffer solution. Now they are adding the chloroplast into it. Now they are making it to reach the equilibrium such that the internal pH of these chloroplasts will become equal to pH 4. Okay, that means they are creating a pH. This is a chloroplast and they are creating acidic. That means high H plus concentration. Now thylakoids are transferred to the pH 8. Now what they are taking, they are transferring this acidic chloroplast to pH 8. pH 8. Okay, that means there is less H plus concentration. Okay, now they are also transferring ADP and phosphorus. Now they are transferring all of that. Friends, you will see that there is a generation of proton motive force here. Okay, now you can see there will be a production of ATP here. Actually, for the production of ATP you do not need any light, so this condition is favored for the production of ATP. And you see chloroplast will be destroyed. No, this is not going to take place. Chlorophyll in the chloroplast will release bound to magnesium. No, why would that take place? We are just changing the acidic pH to the basic pH, which is these chloroplasts can tolerate. There is no release of magnesium or anything like that, and chloroplast can survive to that those conditions. Chloroplast will be intact, but no ATP will be produced. No, there will be the production of ATP. Why? Because we are also providing ADP and PI, phosphorus, and yeah, chloroplast will be intact and ATP will be produced. Yes, this is the correct option, because ATP production just needs the proton gradient between the two, the separable media. They just need the gradient. So if there is a gradient difference, it is going to produce the ATP, and chloroplast will be intact in such conditions. Coming to the next question. Match the entries in group 1 with the entries in group 2. Okay, so this is also a question which is related to the techniques. Yeast to hybrid system, electrophoretic mobility shift, SA chromatin immunoprecipitation, nuclear magnetic resonance. This is NMR. This is the easiest one. NMR is always related with the protein structure determination. So S is going to be 2. So we have, what happened? Yeah. So S is going to be 2 here. So B, C and A we have, sorry, B, C and B we are having 2. Yeast to hybrid system is used for the protein-protein interaction determination. So P is going to be 4. So in both the questions we have P4. Electrophoretic mobility shift assay. So friends, this is a technique which is used to determine the in vitro DNA and protein interaction. How the protein and DNAs are interacting, and we want to determine it in vitro in our lab, then we use the EMSA assay. Okay, EMSA. This is also known as EMSA, electrophoretic mobility shift assay. So the Q is 3 here. So where we have Q as 3 here, we have it in the B. So B is the correct option. Chromatin immunoprecipitation is used to determine the in vivo protein DNA interaction. Okay, so coming to the next question now. The two mammalian cell lines with doubling time of 12 hours and 36 hours are cultured in a radioactive thymidine for 8 hours. Okay, so we have 2, 1 and 2 mammalian cell lines with doubling time of, this is having doubling time of 12 hours, this is having 36 hours. So this is slower than this one. This is having, this can double in a faster way, and this will double slowly. Okay, and they are cultured in a with a radioactive thymine for 8 hours. These both are cultured for 8 hours. The cells were further cultured without the radioactive thymidine for 72 hours, and after 72 hours again they are cultured but without radioactive thymidine. Okay friends, one thing we have to remember, see, once the DNA is taking the radioactive thymidine, every generation, even if you see after the 100 generations, you will see that there is a presence of radioactivity, because the parent DNA is only going to replicate, right? And those parent DNA is going to transfer the radioactive thymine template into the offspring, right? So any generation you see, there will be the presence of radioactivity. Okay, so the cells were further cultured without the radioactive thymine for 72 hours. Incorporated radioactive was measured in equal number of cells in each culture, which revealed that, okay, both cell lines had the same amount of radioactivity. Friends, this is absolutely wrong. Why? Because you see, these cells are actually having the doubling time very faster than these ones. They are doubling at after 36 hours, and these are doubling at 26 hours. So the cells which are doubling really slowly, they are going to take more of the thymidine when compared to the cells which are doubling very fastly. Okay, like suppose I have to run very fastly, and I also have to collect the bananas from the tree. Okay, so the person who is running really slowly, he will take the bananas more number of bananas when compared to the person who is running very fastly, and he will collect one or two bananas, okay, but he cannot collect as many as bananas compared to the slow running man. Okay, in the same way, this person is very fast, so it will take less timing. Okay, but this one is running very slowly and it will take more timing. Okay, the fast growing cells have more radioactivity? No. Why it will not have more radioactivity? Because it is replicating very fast, and so it will take less less timing. So this is wrong. The slow growing cells had more radioactivity. So yes, this is the correct option. Neither of the cell have radioactivity. Wrong. So C is the correct option here. So friends, hope you have understood everything here. So we have discussed section A in this video, and in the next videos we will be discussing the section B and C. So stay tuned and subscribe to our channel for further videos. Thank you friends.